Hi all, and welcome back to another video of the Blair Podcast. And on today's episode, I was very lucky to be joined by Daniel Hussey, who ran us through some of his best moments and some of his worst moments from a betting perspective, from a racing perspective, at the likes of Cheltenham, down the years, and even this year with Goshen's fall. Just one thing I'd like to put out there just before we get into the main part of the video. If you haven't realised yet, I've been doing a bit of work for a new channel on YouTube and on Twitter. It's called Racing Central. I'll have the links to the YouTube and the Twitter down below in the description. If you could go over and like some of those videos or follow the page on Twitter, that would be really, really helpful. I did a podcast with Noel Feely there earlier this week, which you might enjoy, you might not enjoy, but Noel gave me some great insights into the game, and I really enjoyed that. But also, if I haven't got in touch with you about these podcasts yet, don't worry, I will be in touch soon. I've just had a bit of a backlog of work, but I'm now beginning to get through them all, and hopefully I'll get all of you guys on, and we can all chat the great game of racing during lockdown. Anyway, without further ado, getting into the video with Daniel. Alright, welcome back to a new episode of the Blair White Podcast, and I am delighted to be joined today by Daniel Hussey. Daniel, how's things with you? How's lockdown treating you? And most importantly, what's it like without racing at the moment for you?
Like the first couple of weeks, lockdown now was a struggle, I have to say. But at least we had Thurles to kind of keep us occupied. Where now, it's life's a bit empty at the moment. There's nothing to bet on, which is good, I suppose. Get a bit of a break. And I am kind of getting the hang of the routine of the lockdown. I suppose if I was a horse in a race, I suppose it would be starting off slow but staying on to an ever closer third kind of thing. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's going good, to be honest with you, the last couple of weeks. Yeah. What about yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Like, you kind of, as you say, you get used to it at this stage, and probably, as you mentioned there, the lack of betting opportunities is probably not the worst thing, especially going into the flat season. I wouldn't know thing, to be honest. And the thing that constantly gets me is that it's only been 5 weeks since Cheltenham. It genuinely feels like it's been years.
It's madness. I was actually over there for the 4 days, which obviously now in hindsight probably wasn't the brightest thing to do. But yeah, it's madness. Like we kind of had a feeling coming back on the plane that things had changed a lot. And then coming back, it was just madness. Like I was straight into self-isolating, obviously. And then the lockdown came straight after that. So I've technically been self-isolating for the 5 weeks. It's mad. And even thinking of crowds now, you wouldn't really, you think twice before any vaccine came anyway to go in any sort of crowd, particularly the Irish government now till August or the end of August, saying crowds of 5,000 or more. Yeah, it's interesting times ahead now, to be honest with you, but it takes a while to getting used to.
Yeah, well, I was the same. I was over for the 4 days, and it was really the Wednesday night, I think, that it became quite serious back over here. And I remember FaceTime my family, and they were kind of going, geez, like, what are you guys doing over there? And we were there just having pints, having a good time, and it kind of felt like a completely separate universe. But anyway, going into this year's Cheltenham, I suppose from your perspective, what were your good moments betting wise? What were your bad moments, and what did you take out of it?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I thought it was as good a Cheltenham we've had really in years. Maybe 2015 was probably just shaded, but to be in terms of like storylines, not that other Cheltenhams have lacked, but we have an absolute superstar in Envoy Allen, for example. So like for him to win the way he did, like turning in, I thought he was beat. Genuinely, I had easy work without Envoy and easy work, so I was like, I can't believe easy work's going to get. Just get by the big breakaway, isn't it? Big getaway, sorry. But Envoy Allen, he was unbelievable. And I just remember the parade ring after, just drinking so much. I've never seen a horse drink so much water. He's a proper superstar. So yeah, he was my highlight. Not from a punting perspective, I didn't get on the fancy anti-post prices that many people did, but he was definitely a highlight for me in terms of a horse that we can get excited about going forward. Because sometimes we do lack that superstar, because these animals are so hard to keep them going for year after year. So fingers crossed, Envoy, I reckon he'll go March next year, and on to then a Gold Cup in 2022. But in terms of myself, I'll go to the heartbreak first, because I think most people prefer this heartbreak. Goshen on the Friday. I've had a bit of I don't know what it is on Fridays where I can't seem to get a winner. I say I've been punting on Cheltenham since 2013 and had about maybe 2 winners on the Friday. So that's no Gold Cup winner. So which is not great when everyone asks you on the Friday what are you fancying. But I was directly in line on the final hurdle on Goshen, and obviously I'd known and everyone knew about all the quirks, but he was going so well. Moving over to right, yeah, right move. And then he got over. He kind of half got over, and then just stumbled. And, to be honest with you, I was down squatting full. Like I didn't even see the finish, to be honest with you. And it's kind of tough for Jamie Moore now to have a whole year to get right, to put it right, and to do that in a champion hurdle up against Epatante as well. It's going to be tricky enough, but they were kind of what stick out there as well. In terms of something that went well, the handicap double of Imperial Aura and Simply the Bets meant a lot of singing the Simply the Bets song to annoy a fair few of my mates on that night. But yeah, it was very, very enjoyable, Cheltenham, I have to say. And looking forward to the next year. Thank God, please God, sorry if it goes ahead.
Yeah, no, I thought it was an excellent one. Obviously, it was the first festival I'd been over at completely, and I just kind of all the subplots and as you say, like when you're coming over from Ireland and you see Mullins and Elliott and stuff like that, and these are horses that I've been lucky enough to see throughout the season, and you mentioned them, Boilen, like to see him run. I think I've seen all bar one of his hurdle runs this year, the one up and down Royal. But to see him then go and produce the goods like he did was really a standout for me. And as you say, Simply the Bets was one of my big handicap days as well. I thought he was beast jumping the last, I must say, which I was absolutely adamant that he was going to win, but I was adamant that Appreciated was going to win the day before. And he came to the final furlong, I'm counting the change, and then he got pipped. And I thought the exact same was going to happen with Simply the Bets.
Yeah, the Appreciated one now, I mugged in last minute on the shorter odds. I couldn't, once he had not jumping the last, sorry, getting to the final furlong, I thought there's no way he can win. And then Fernie Hollow comes from nowhere after disappointing a couple of times early on the season, and I've kind of written him off. Appreciable. It's definitely a horse to take out for next year, though, in terms of possibly the Ballymore. And even if the bumper form works out as well as last year, you can just mug in with the Fernie Hollow Ballymore. Fernie Hollow Supreme. I appreciate Ballymore double. But I have to say the Mare's Hurdle in particular. I backed Honeysuckle around 6-1 anti-post, but I'd completely gone off for like if there was I just couldn't see Benny to do. Having her beat, especially with a couple of Mullins horses in the race, and they can make it into from a 2.5 mile race into nearly a 3 mile in terms of increasing the pace. But when Rachel Blackmore got the inside, and the camera angle is perfect because obviously when you're at the races, you're watching the screen and then keeping an eye on the track. I thought that was unbelievable. As good a race as you'll get in the Mare's Hurdle. Pretty similar to the one with Limini, Appleshade, and Vroom Vroom Mag a couple of years back. But yeah, Rachel Blackmore, she's a superstar, and Honeysuckle definitely. It'd be interesting what they do next year now as well, especially with a lot of the mares likes to put the kettle on with that Mare's Chase, which I'm not totally keen on. But and in terms, I presume that Kim Muir potentially might be going. I think that's the bookies' favourite at the moment. I'm a big fan of that race myself. But Honeysuckle definitely another highlight. It was just some really good storylines, and it's just a pity that we didn't have the Aintree and the Punchestown to follow. Even behind closed doors would have been great, but obviously with the current climate we couldn't.
Yeah, that was obviously a shame. Honeysuckle was. I'm struggling to come to terms with Honeysuckle really, because I was so keen on Benny the Jew, and I backed at bad prices as well, and I just don't know about the race because it was an unbelievable bit of race riding, I think, from Rachel Blackmore. But there's a part of me that just thinks that Honeysuckle isn't going to even be half the horse over hurdles that she's going to be over fences. She just jumps everything like a chaser. Mm-hmm. And I'd absolutely love to see her, run in the Marsh or run in the RSA or something. This, as you say, this Mare's Chase, it wouldn't be for me really. It just dilutes the quality. And you see a horse like Put the Kettle On, as you mentioned, she goes in the Arkle, you get £7 and you win the race. Like there's nothing saying that these horses can't do it. It just adds to the subplot a bit more. As it turns out, with the way the race was ran, Benny the Jew would actually have had a better chance in the Stayers Hurdle, I think, this year than the Mare's Hurdle. Because if you told, I'd say, the Mullins camp that Paisley Park was to run the way he did, they'd been all over that or the stairs or the route.
Yeah, and it's interesting a lot from the Mullins camp since about we'll beat Honeysuckle again. So it seemed they definitely underestimated her a little bit going into the mares, as in it would be more of a penalty kick. I suppose the odds did reflect that to a certain point. I bottled it with the Honeysuckle. I wasn't telling anyone to back Honeysuckle or Benny to do. I just left the race alone. But obviously I had the previous, so I was cheering her on. And hindsight's great. Obviously, I should have really got in on her. But I just think the inside, it definitely got her a length and a half. But she always finished her race. She did stick her neck out there at the end. I'd love to see a rematch. I don't know if we ever will, to be honest with you. But yeah, you're right with Benny to do. Like, I just don't understand. Even if Paul should have maybe tried to make the pace a bit more. I know Benny hasn't really been ridden that much from the front, but you know, you're running essentially a 2.5 miler, and you're running at 2.5. You want to make it as stern a test as possible. But yeah, like Benny did probably in hindsight should have gone, but she's a really good chaser as well. Like, I know I watched her race, maybe was it 3 years ago. I might be getting the track wrong. Carlisle potentially. And she jumped it. She jumped every fence unbelievably, and I think I had a small anti-post bet on an outrageous champion chase prospect at the time at ridiculous odds. Obviously, she's never going to run there in a million years, but I suppose she might be one for the mare. It will be over 2 miles the mare chase, or has it even been decided yet?
I'm honestly not sure. I've tried to keep away from that mare's chase debate. I don't want to get riled up too much. But you said you've been to many Cheltenham festivals yourself and bet on a fair few. I suppose over the years for you, what were the great moments? You know, what were the agony moments? You said this year about Goshen. I'd say that's up there with the main ones, because he was absolutely home and hosed. And to see that performance, like, because I was 50-50 about him. I knew he was a really good horse, but you knew the quirks as well. But that turn of foot, when they'd gone a good gallop already up front, I thought it was a monstrous performance, to be honest. But I'm sure you've other heartbreaks and other great moments as well to tell us about.
Yeah, just to finish on Goshen, and then I'll park that and not think about it as the Champion Hurl next year. Weeks of kind of, who will win the Triumph. I backed him anti-post, which was brilliant after his race. The first one, Fontwell potentially. He just kept jumping to the right, but he won by so far. So it was a bit of a wild one. But then I kind of, similar to Honeysuckle, I'd gone off and watched a lot of replays again, and I eventually decided, you know what, this horse, this could be anything, and I'll take the chance. So I've kind of told as many people to back Goshen as possible, which again doesn't make it easier. But I suppose myself getting into racing to start with, I was never really growing up into racing as a kid. Most people aren't outside of racing bull. Like, Don't Push It in 2010, we always put like €1 in the family Grand National, and he was the favourite, so I was like sick of losing the last couple of years, so I put €1, or got my dad to put €1 on. He won it, whatever starting price. McCoy won, I think he was Fav. I don't think I ever saw the returns now from my dad. It was more just the buzz of winning, but I never really got back into it until my first year at 18. I was doing the Leaving Cert, 2013. Cheltenham's on, asked my dad for a couple of picks. It was the year that was it Champagne Fever won the Supreme, Hurricane Fly won the Champion, and Quevega won the Mares. And as I go, my dad just gave me the 3 Ruby Walsh rides of the day. I think a couple of euro on that got me back nearly 80 or 90 quid. So I was like, this is unbelievable. Now the rest of the festival didn't go too well after that, because I didn't really know what I was doing. 2014 was the first year I proper got into it. Week off in college in UCD, which was great. So what we did was basically Channel 4 coverage for the 4 days, and I just really fell in love with it there. And then I thought Channel 4 at the time were unbelievable. They were getting a hard time on social media, I remember, but for me, just getting into racing, like Nick Luck, Jim McGrath, Graham Cunningham, I really enjoyed the analysis aspect of it. And then a UCD trip came up in 2015 to basically go over for 3 days, really good value. Me and a mate from a GA team, we said we'd try it out, and really caught the bug then. I think the moment I walked into Cheltenham, and first thing I noticed was how huge it was. Like, it's massive. I don't know if you found yourself this year. It's just huge. The hill as well. We walked from the Furlong point to the finish line. I was fairly tired, to be honest with you. I'll never grab a horse like Pentland Hills can't get up the Cheltenham Hill, to be honest with you. Well, that's a bit harsh. You won the Triumph previously. I'll retract that. But yeah. So what a day to go for your first day was 2015 day one. The 4 Mullins favourites. I said I'd mug in and do the four favourites in a small accumulator like everyone else. Duvan wins the first so easily, so for a second maybe the last I was like, well, is this God's own going to win? Not a chance. And then Faheen wins the champion hurdle, and you're getting to Annie Power. And I always remember the groan, because I don't know if I wasn't expecting it or not, but just when she fell, the disbelief. It's not a sport to remember. I remember with amazing, glee or anything, but it was just something to be part of, I suppose. And in racing, just the storylines more than the betting. I find you remember when obviously the money's either spent or lost. For that moment she fell was just like I think I'd cleanse Melody, because I didn't have enough bankroll to be mugging in on singles, so I think I'd cleanse Melody, or not cleanse Melody, Polly Peachum that was beaten by a head after as well, so it was a disaster. But that was my first day, and that's the memory that sticks out in terms. It's just that Annie Power moment where obviously it wasn't a great moment, but delighted she got up okay, and obviously she made amends the following year in the champion hurdle, which was great.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, 2015 was the first festival that I was properly involved in. I was back in school, and we'd be watching the live streams on our phone at lunchtime and stuff like that. And one of my mates had a couple of 20 quid on Annie Power or something like that, which at the time we were all there like, look at this guy. And we were watching the race after school, and we kind of couldn't believe what had happened. And it was one of those, a bit like Ocean this year. The groan does ring in your head. Like I felt it this year, as I say. It's just there. You can't help, whether you've backed the horse or not backed the horse, just to feel sorry for Connections. Like I hadn't backed Goshen, but you're there, you're seeing Jamie Moore kind of on the ground and stuff like that, and going, it's kind of not deserved. And more so for me, you kind of know what the social media is going to do, and that is something that really annoys me. I'm not a massive fan of people, throwing criticism at jockeys. Like I couldn't ride a horse, ever. So like I'm not going to be one throwing blame about. But the Annie Power storyline, the way it had all worked out, it was obviously very disappointing. But a few of your good moments, maybe, what rings true?
So it's funny enough that day, and it's probably to tie in a bit with the story. So the Undersod won, and obviously Duvan previously, so we're into the Ultima, the third race. So things are going much better than I expected. I remember I withdrew whatever the initial money I'd won. I'd kind of my head going, I've kind of made a bit of money for the day regardless here. So I just put on my Ultima singles, which were three small each way bets on three horses: Grand Gesture, Gallant Oscar, and Druid's Nephew. And I was like, I might just mug in here and do a little bit of a tricast. So I said, I'll put €1 combination tricast, €6, and I just noticed on the balance I'd €9 left. So I was like, look, I'll put it all on this ridiculous tricast. Now, if I never would have even done the tricast 2 years later, never mind nowadays. So I'm almost ashamed telling this story, but I remember cheering on the Druid's Nephew because it was my bigger bet of the three, and he won, and Grand Gesture came second, and then Gallant Oscar just got up on the line to get third. So I was like, lads, we'd all won on Druid's Nephew, lads. Remember that tricast I put on? I think I might have just got up there third. So I was in the queue backing in the champion hurdle. So I was doing a couple of cash bets there. And because I'm ashamed to say, because I had Faheen already in an accumulator, I did go for Chesky 9-2 as well. Each way, I think, as well. Came forward. The Mullins 3. So I was just in the queue, and I was thinking I might get maybe a few hundred back from this combination tricast, not thinking the ridiculous odds, 8-1, I think, 10-1 and 20-1. And it ended up getting €5,000 back, which I, for me nowadays, would be huge money. So never mind a student and his first Cheltenham. And I stupidly just sent the screenshot to my dad, which I won't do again because the internet 4G wasn't as great as it is now, or I don't know if even 4G was out at the time, but he was like ringing my mate saying he was thinking I had it in cash. He didn't know what to think of all the money. But the problem was everyone was asking me to buy them a drink, but I was still a broke student who'd withdrawn all their money. It was just using whatever spending money. So, but to this day, the lads still call me Trigas and all this. I feel a bit of a mug in terms of that bet, but I just remember being in the queue and just doubling my bet on jet ski stupidly and stopping that after he didn't win. But yeah, that was the kind of madness. I suppose one I'm a little bit more proud of would have been last year inside of Burley, just after he ran at Leopardstown. 50-1 was still available, so took a bit of that. Me and a mate of mine, so we were buzzing when he won, because he was at 277, I think was the exchange price. Barry Garrity still got him up. Sorry, as in play, 277 exchange price. And Barry still got him up. So yeah, that'd be the anti-post bet I'm most proud of. The mug Tricast bet I'm proud of. But I suppose just one that I'm heartbroken over still is Vitor. God rest him. He just lost me a small fortune at the time, relative fortune, obviously. In the King George, in what probably, if anyone who hasn't watched that race in a while to watch back, I've never heard a crowd come through the TV as much as Kempton did when Q Card got up, or no one knew who won. So Vitor went from he drifted all the way to 16-1 straight away for the Gold Cup. I was like, he's still going to run. If he'd won by half a length, he'd be, single figures at least, maybe 4 or 5-1. So got him there. He's going to the Gold Cup all the way along. I'm telling everyone Vitor for the Gold Cup. He's going to be a Q Card. He's going to get the extra couple of furlongs. And then I remember hearing around the rate of race, and Vitor's been declared for the Ryanair. I was like, what? You talk about the Gold Cups on Friday. You can't run the Ryanair on Thursday. Can you run both? And everyone's like, no, he's been declared. That's it. You can't. Or I think you could declare yourself. But I was absolutely heartbroken, and so heartbroken and too stubborn that I backed every other horse in the Ryanair bar Vitor as he won by half the track. But he'd still be my favourite horse. And that JLT in 2015, similar story to Goat. I was actually in line with the second fence. I didn't have good tickets, so they were way down. Decided to get in front of the Guinness chest in line with the second fence when he jumped it. And I've never seen a horse live, obviously, jump a fence like he did. Kind of lost him before his time, but I'd have loved to see him in the Gold Cup. But to win 3 Cheltenham Festival is amazing. So there'd just be a couple stories, good and bad. I always like throwing the bad in the heartbreaking story, because you usually don't hear them. But yeah, some good memories, all right.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's the thing. I've had many heartbreaks. I remember that King George you just alluded to, and I was on Don Cossack that day. He hadn't travelled an absolute yard all the way round, and Brian Cooper was just beginning to get him rolling on the outside, and he fell. And as you said, like, I was watching it on the TV with my dad, and we've never seen such a, like, you could hear the groan coming through the TV, and then it was suddenly kind of this big excitement again that Q Card was gaining, Vitor was there. They both made a mistake at the last. But looking back at it now, those were 3 incredible horses. Don Cossack was an excellent horse as well. And yeah, I suppose they're sad memories, but they're also good memories, really, because they're excellent race, and they're ones that always will live long in the memory. Now, if you were to give, you've named your big Tricast, your absolute lovely 50-1 Sire de Burleys. If you were to give maybe a couple of dark ones that you're thinking of for maybe the 2021 Cheltenham Festival, that, like, I know there's people out there that could tell me that Shishkin will win the Arkle. I don't want to hear that. I know that's going to happen. But maybe a few dark ones that you think could run well.
Yeah, a couple of dark ones. Shishkin for the Arkle, it's good horse potential. Envoy Allen for the Marsh. If you want to mug in there. No, in all seriousness, I'm very excited. Lost a fair few quid again on latest exhibition for the Albert Bartlett. Similar to the Triumph, I spent a lot of time with no strong opinion on it, but towards the end, kind of was like, I think latest exhibition is amazing horse. And if he had won by half a head there, I don't think he'd be getting 16-1 on an RSA. It's definitely his target. I know Paul Long was quoted saying he's going to be aimed at the RSA. Obviously, as definitely as can be in, April, 11 months out from Cheltenham. It's ridiculous, I know. I did have a small each way on him before withdrawing a few bob from Cheltenham. So I have mugged in anti-post 11 months out for earliest ever bet. But I do think when he sees a fence, there's potential improvement. Don't really think he gets the credit he deserves. He won the Grade 1 at the Dublin Racing Festival pretty convincingly, and the Albert Bartlett, it just didn't go according to, not that it didn't go according to plan. I don't think there was anything particularly wrong with the ride or anything. It was just on the bob, and Monkfish's small bit of interference, not necessarily on latest exhibition, but on Richard Johnson's horse there as well. So he'd be one I'd be keeping an eye on. I think 16-1. Last time I checked was the price there. The other angle I have there as well. I think another year Brian Cooper riding for Paul Nolan and other trainers. He's kind of getting his confidence back. I don't think he's a million miles away from getting back to full form. He was second with Ronald Pump in the Stayers. If he said he'd have beaten Paisley Park by a few lengths, he'd have loved it. And I think actually riding the race, he was trying to beat Paisley, where if he knew it was this Nagar Oscar. So I had Ronald Pump back. So on another day, Cooper could have had maybe, I think, 2 or 3 winners. I know Discorama was close, and you'd be talking then of a jockey in form. So I do think another year, him riding very well for Paul Nolan as well as other big trainers out there. So he'd be one I'd be keeping an eye on. I am excited with Goshen as well for champion. Not punting on him, but I'm really excited for that race. It's gone from not looking forward to it at all last year to I can't wait for it already. Epatante, Sharjah on a better ground maybe. So yeah, a latest exhibition will be the one for me to keep an eye on this year anyway.
Yeah, well, I can only give you positive news about that, because I remember talking to James Nolan before Cheltenham this year, and he assured me that latest exhibition would be a stone better over fences than he was over hurdles. So they were thinking actually the Albert Bartas was really just
Just give me. I'm just getting onto my count there again to double down on him.
He was telling me that the Albert Barta this year, like, I know it's a worn phrase at this stage about, you know, bonuses over hurdles and stuff like that, but they really, really like him down there. They pulled together all their owners in the yard to keep him. I know Willie Mullins, I think, was very interested in getting him, which only speaks highly enough. And to be honest, like, the Albert Bartlett is a race I don't want to watch back that much. I was on latest exhibition on Fury Road, and I'm in still agony watching the race. But that's the way it goes, I suppose. I couldn't agree with you more about latest exhibition. One for the champion hurdle I think has been underrated is Sam Raw. I think that's how you pronounce it, the county hurdle winner. I just have an idea that Mullins usually likes to have a good horse for the champion hurdle. I think he knows he can't win it with Sharjah, so he's going to have to try and find something else, and that could be the one that he plops for. Same ownership as Epatante, so you wouldn't know. But anyway, it was great to speak to you, Daniel. It was great for you to come on and tell us a few of those heartbreaking stories and a few of those great stories. And yeah, I hope you stay safe and we get back racing as soon as possible.
Perfect. Thanks for having me on, Andrew. Appreciate it.
No. And that concludes another episode of the Blair White Podcast. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. I thought Daniel was a great guest. He gave some great insights into the heartbreak and the jubilation of landing a big Tricast in the Ultima to watching Annie Power fall only an hour later in that 2015 Cheltenham Festival. If you did enjoy the video, please do give it a like and subscribe to the channel down below. And of course, as I've mentioned before, if you guys want to get in touch and want to get on the podcast yourself, do give me a message either on Instagram or Twitter. Again, links are in the description below, and also go over and follow Racing Central for a bit of good action as well. And until next time, best of luck, stay safe, and I'll see you then.